Entertainment Network. Please subscribe, hit that like button, and as always, leave a comment, and thank you for enjoying the video.
Shot to right, slicing toward the pesky pole down the line, and it's going to be out of here. Line down the right field line toward the pesky pole, leaping up, and that ball is gone. That's a home run. A lot of our Nesson team as well. High fly down the right field line, headed toward the pesky pole. That one tucked in, and that ball is going to be against the wall and into second base. Number retired, and now Rafael Devers trying to retire that baseball inside the pesky pole.
Welcome to another episode of the Pesky Podcast. I'm your host, Ritt. With me, like always, is George, the OG Sutherland. And with us, we have a man that is a legend in the Red Sox Twitter/X community. We have Justin. So, George, first off, man, how's it going? How's it like to be home for once?
A little different. You spend almost 4 weeks on the road, and you come home, and the first thing you notice is that the lawn has to be mowed, and you got a whole bunch of other stuff to take care of. But it's good to be home, sleep in my own bed. So it's a good deal. But we had a great trip. So,
Justin, man, how's it going?
It's going great. Just wrapped up this national series here. Looking on to the Rays series. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, just chilling. Can't wait to talk Sox with you guys.
Well, tell everybody that from the Pesky Podcast viewers a little bit about yourself.
I'm just my name's Justin, just a normal guy. I live in New Jersey. Against popular belief, I guess you could say, I don't live in Massachusetts. Not at all. I'm about 4 hours away from Fenway, without traffic. So, I'm 162 guy. I'm in it for the long haul. And I love this team, and I love it so much. I love talking about it with anybody and everybody. So I appreciate you guys having me on today.
Man, first things first, it's always a better conversation when there's passion. Yeah. And reading your tweets and reading some of your tweets that get a lot of traction, we should say. It's great though. Because everybody has their own opinions, and it's great to have a friendly banter back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I always look for when it's banter. I look for friendly first. A lot of times, I'm not the one that initiates it, but there are a little, there's some spats here and there. You know what I mean? And when I say here and there, I mean it's all the fucking time. So, no, it's all in good fun. It's a great community. It's not something to take advantage of. Meet a lot of cool people like you guys.
Yeah. So let's sit there and talk a little recap about the National Series. Man, it could have been a sweep. How many times, George, have we sit there and open the show that it could have been a sweep? But of course they let our man out there, and there was no reason, that not to put him back out there. When they put Halkamania back out there again for the 7th inning in a game 1. So what were your thoughts, George, of the overall series, the pitching performance, and the lack of hitting?
Yeah, I mean, Hulk going out for the 7th. Another AC brain dead moment every now and then crops up. That game they didn't hit. I mean, you got to, you score 1 run, unless your pitch is throwing goose eggs, you got to do better than that. Game 2 and game 3, they came through and had some timely hitting. With the help of some questionable moves by the Nats manager, wanting to face Devers, I don't know. Where's your head? But yeah, I mean, it could have very easily been 3-0 if they had hit. They didn't. But take 2 out of 3 and stay above 500. As I said in my Sunday column, they're a 500 club. So they are what they are.
Man, I'm going to say, first off, you call them a 500 club, George. I'll let you have that. I call them a third place team. You know what I'm saying? Yep. For some reason, they're sticking by me when I said that they were going to finish the season in third place. So I'm enjoying that. I'm also enjoying the next man up mentality. I'm kind of curious now, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit about, okay, when Whitlock comes back, what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, Justin, what did you think about the Nat series? And I'm going to ask you, what did you think about the Wong show for Game 3? Like that man,
I tell you, he really wants it to be the Connor Wong trade instead of the Mookie Betts trade, man. He finds a way to get into every single game that he plays in, whether if it's on offense, whether if it's on defense. Kind of looking at it at a bigger scope, I would say that once Kyle Teal comes up and eventually takes over as the starting catcher, Connor Wong is going to be probably the best C2 catcher 2 out there in baseball. That's going to be a tremendous, I guess you could say tandem, duo, however you want to call it. He gives you a lot to be excited about. As far as the series as a whole, it could have gone either way. Honestly, I think the Red Sox pulled it out. Friday was a little bit of a stinker, to be honest with you. There were a couple, bright moments, like Houck had another great outing. It's not his fault that they, like you said, George, that the offense only scored 1 run. Yeah, I mean, it really, I feel like this series really accentuated the lack of clutch hitting. Something that, Justin Turner gave you, time and again last year. Something that the Red Sox also never really replaced this season. They tried to with Tyler O'Neill, but you didn't really know what you were going to get in O'Neill. So, it highlighted a lot, opened up a lot of eyes and a lot of issues and bright spots in this weekend.
Yeah, if you look at Tanner Houck is 3-4 now, but on paper he could be 5-2 if he would have some run support. And it's a shame, but he's still that dog that's going out there, into the 7th. Cutter Crawford has also been going into the 7th. Cooper Criswell. You cannot ask more from somebody else, than him. Hey, we need you to start. He goes in. He's had 5 innings I want to say every start this season. Last one he went out and he threw 9 Ks in 5 innings. Like that Crazy. That is a dog move. But here we go. We're gonna sit there and I'm gonna ask you, George, and then we're gonna get Justin's opinion. What do we do with Whitlock or Criswell or both once Whitlock's off the IL?
Well, if you don't make another corresponding move, and somebody doesn't, pull up with some kind of injury, which seems to happen to help make roster moves easier these days, God knows why. I think it's tough to take Criswell out of the out of the rotation. I mean, he's given you a solid 5. He is what he is. He's not going to be a Cy Young candidate. He's just going to go out there and give you 5 pretty good innings. He's learned how to pitch out of trouble. He's good. Whitlock, you kind of hold your breath and wonder when he's going to, when he's going to put himself back on the IL again, because he hasn't been able to put together a really good string of games played. So, timeout. I think given this stretch, you might see Whitlock start one game, Criswell another, maybe, I won't call it a 6-man rotation, but you might give a guy a day of rest, given what they're playing in the next few days. They said they got 23 games in 24 days, 13 in a row. I know that's obscene, but yeah,
that's awesome.
And that could be the way to do it. But that means we have to send someone down if we're going to do that, which would lighten up our bullpen a little bit if you're sending a reliever down, because they just send Josh Winkowski down. And I'm hoping it's to keep him stretched out just in case, because that's what AC's plan was in the beginning of the season, was to stretch out Winkowski. So, Justin, what are your thoughts on, does Criswell stay? Does he go in the rotation? Does he go back to the bullpen? Does Whitlock go in the bullpen? Because when Whitlock went down, he had a 1.96 ERA with a 1.15 WHIP with 17 Ks. Like, he was right there with the rest of the rotation and pulling down those numbers.
The way I look at it is, yes, his numbers are great as a starter right now, but I've seen Whitlock be a starter long enough to realize that I don't know if health-wise it's sustainable. Every time he puts together a bunch, a string of starts, and then something pops up, whether if it's his hip or anything else. I think like ideally you would want to go into a 6-man rotation. We've seen it happen before, which would look, it would kind of extend their health a little bit, kind of extend those days out just a little bit more. I think the more realistic option here is probably what's going to happen is you put Whitlock in the bullpen. You have Winkowski that's being stretched out in the minors right now. He's kind of figuring it out right now, which isn't bad starting pitcher depth. And then Cooper Criswell. How can you take him out? How can you possibly take him out? Like what you see him doing right now is like by far and away more than what he should be doing as a number 5 pitcher, let alone what he's doing right now. I think ideally in my perfect world, I would like Whitlock in the bullpen, Criswell, in the rotation still. You have Winkowski who's stretched out. So in the event that Criswell possibly, kind of gives it up and start, his carriage turns into a pumpkin, then you have Winkowski to kind of take over that role. I think that's more likely on what's going to happen in the 6-man rotation.
Yeah, and if you think about it, if Winkowski is being stretched out, then you have, say Whitlock does go to the bullpen, and then you have another starting pitcher. Technically, if you wanted to, if somebody gets hurt, okay, boom, we can move Whitlock back into the rotation.
Yeah,
pretty much. Justin, I'm going to sit there and follow what you're saying. Is Cooper's. The job is his to lose right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And right now, we got Bayo back, Pavetta's back. You got Houck and Cutter, amazing jobs at what they're doing. And then you got Cooper. Like, no, you can't tell me one person besides possibly Andrew Bailey and maybe Craig Breslow that would have sit there and put these 5 guys against any rotation in baseball and said, we've got the number 1 starting rotation in baseball. You can't tell me that with a straight face. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
But, going comparing this team to last year, it's like they did a complete inside-out flip. Now, all of a sudden, we can't score. Last year, we were a top 10, baseball team in scoring runs, in all batting categories. And we were on the bottom half of, pitching. So now, does this leave more of pressure on the new hitting coach, George, where, okay, what happens? We got to get these guys out of a slump because Tyler O'Neill's in a slump now. We got almost zero production coming from first base. You might as well just kept Bobby Dahlbeck over there at first base just to play defense, because he's had about the same production as Dominic Smith and Coop. So
yeah, I don't think you can blame it on the hitting coach. I mean, Justin's point is true. We don't really have that clutch hitter like Justin Turner that just came up big time for us last year. And I'll put Adam Duvall in that category, both before and after he came here. Even after he came back, he was, you could count on him to put one into the seats. I also believe that with O'Neill, I still don't think he's right after that collision with Rafi. I think, he's able to play. It's not as though he can't play, but he's not quite himself. I would say he's probably 90-95%. And he seems to have missed the home run stroke a little bit. I think he's still going to shake some rust off in that regard. He's still playing, great outfield, contributing with some some timely hitting, but that knack for going deep, nobody's going to go do what he did the first 2 weeks of the season, a la Duvall last year. But, he seems to have lost the home run stroke, but the rest of his game is okay. I mean, he's just still, something's a little off with him. But, they really don't have a whole lot of thumpers in the lineup. And when you lost Casas, I mean, that's 25 to 35 home runs right there. You don't pick somebody off the street that's going to give you that. This is not going to happen. I mean, Cooper had a couple of hits the other day. But, I mean, he's not a home run hitter either. That hurts. And they really, there's been some talk about bring up Cavadas. Okay, but do we get Bobby Dahlbeck too? I think the kid needs a little more time in the minors, personally. I don't think you'd do him a great deal of any sense of favor to him if you tried to bring him up early. And they've had a revolving door. The second base is, finally settled down. They're going to go with Vaughn Grissom and maybe David Hamilton for a while. You've got shortstop squared away right now with Rafael Eller in it. But, I don't think you can put any heavy blame on the hitting coach. There isn't a whole lot to work with there. And right now, the back end of the roster is being filled with whatever Breslow can pick up that makes the roster incrementally better in small ways. Like I said, you're not going to find 30 home run guys, on the streets these days, because Jesus, everybody would pick them up.
Well, George, just to clear it up, I'm not saying that we're going to blame the hitting coach. I'm just saying that, like, Andrew Bailey came in, he, found something that worked. We're going straight across the whole board with it, and we're even seeing it in the minor leagues. Jonathan Brand, Alex Hoppe, to name a few, are doing tremendous jobs down there under this new, pitching program they have there. So what I'm trying to say is the hitting coach, he's got to sit there and figure out what he can do to get this offense going. And, we are second in the league in strikeouts.
Yeah,
that has got to be the number one thing we sit there and take. We got to get deeper in the pitch counts, and we got to start taking more walks.
I would take it I go probably one step further. And just, I don't know how you feel about this, but maybe, simple is best sometimes. Connor Wong is doing things this year at the plate that we haven't seen him do. Why? Because he simplified his approach at the plate. Got rid of the toe tap, stop the movement around. He's just ready to see a pitch when it comes. You look at a lot of these guys in the plate and they get a lot of moving parts and whatever, and some of it's, timing issues or whatever. And get back to basics, go the other way. Take what the pitcher gives you, don't, I realize the stats are wonderful and all the rest, but rallies begin with singles up the middle, or somebody,
like
right?
Yeah.
That, or, the blooper that falls in, or the high Texas League chopper that, the shortstop or the third baseman tries to come up with, and, somebody with a little speed beats him down the line. That's how rallies start. It's nice to, everybody wants the long ball, but, good Lord, not everybody's, blessed to be able to hit 30 bombs a year. So,
and if you look back, right, if you look back at the Giants series when we played them, that's how they beat us.
That's how they beat them. They just beat them base hit at a time.
Yep. Get a man on base, move him over, by a steal or, by a hit and run. Next thing you know, he's over on third, brings him in. Like, that's how you move guys around the base. So, Justin, well, what are your thoughts on how we can improve and get this offense going? Unless you want to be like Serrano in Major League and, start bringing Jobu out and,
That may not be a bad idea, honestly. Get a little sage burning. I honestly going back to your question for George, I will say that I would say there's some pressure on Fozzie for sure. Cutting down those strikeouts, I mean, that is imperative. Now, I won't say there's a ton of pressure because, like you said, you're dealt the hand that you're given, right? You lost Casas, who was going to be, your 1A hitter of the season. You lost Story for the year, who you were expecting a lot out of. Even Bobby Dahlbeck. Listen, as much slack as I will say, I am pretty harsh on him just because, like, we've seen him be good. Like, we've seen him be a monster. Like, if it was, any slapdick like Dominic Smith, like I wouldn't really care that much because it's like, you kind of picked him up out of nowhere. You're not really expecting too much out of him. It is what it is. If he sucks, then he sucks, and it's whatever. But like a guy like Bobby Dahlbeck, he's still on the team. You still expect him to produce somewhat, not anywhere near, the lack of production that he's given you this far. If you're not Worcester, I mean, Worcester, he's like Barry Bonds. It's ridiculous, But I'll say in order to pick it up, it's got to go back to timely hitting. This team is awful with runners in scoring position. I think that starts and ends with Tyler O'Neill even being a fraction of what he was in the first 2 weeks. That would be tremendous. I mean, we see, it made sometimes with these injuries, sometimes with these concussions, et cetera, it takes a lot of guys for them to get back to where they were. I don't think anyone's expecting him to go back to like how he was in the first week or two of the season, but also striking out at a 30% clip. If you take out those first couple weeks, that's like astronomically high. You could get that from Dahlbeck. You can get that from Cavadas. Like, you know what I mean? Now, as far as the Cavadas things go, or the Cavadas thing goes, I would say, I mean, Dominic Smith, he's not really giving you much, really. Cavadas may not be ready, but at the same time, it's like he's not really a guy that you're looking to kind of protect his service time. He's not a Roman Anthony. He's not a big three guy of any capacity. So if you think that you have something there, I mean, he's been hot at the plate. I mean, arguably he's been your hottest prospect other than maybe Meyer. Maybe you think you have something there, give him a shot. I mean, he has options for a reason. You never know when some of these things, might stick. So, there's a lot of moving parts that are still willing to happen. And it is good to see that, you had Garrett Cooper and Dominic Smith coming in, joining the team. I think last year it would have just been Dahlbeck just until Casas came back.
I've talked about this a couple of times and I've written about it. The difference between last year and this year is Breslow will do something.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Chaim Bloom would still be in analysis paralysis, right? Oh, do I do this? And in the middle of some thought flying, hey, what am I going to have for lunch today? He'd lose it, right? I mean, you can't do that. And, Breslow's saying, all right, listen, these two guys, they had deals and they had opt-outs at the first of the year. They're looking for a job. Let's give them, what do we got to lose? And, that's not bad. Sometimes you catch lightning in a bottle and other times, you get 0 for 13. So
exactly.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. If we were sitting there and in the offseason, well, I'm just going to bring up this one small point. There was one guy that wanted to come here more than anybody else, was Teoscar Hernandez.
Yeah.
And that man is tearing it up out there in LA. 11 home runs, 33 RBIs. He could have done wonders for our team to be that power bat right now, But instead, we have our number 1 hitter and our number 9 hitter leading our team in RBIs. How is that possible? You know what I mean? Jarren Duran has come through clutch more than anybody else on this team other than Ceddanne Rafaela when runners are on base. Everybody else has 14 RBIs or less. So there's a lot of people left on base that shouldn't be left on base. Like, instead of trying to drive them in, we've got some speed on the base path. So instead of driving them in, hit a blooper to the opposite field. You know what I mean? Try to hit it up the middle. You know what I mean? You use your vision and make a hole for yourself, and there'll be more opportunities there.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
and any final thoughts, you guys, on hitting?
No. Someone has to get in these guys' head and be like, listen, all you got to do, just drive in the guy from third. That's all you have to do. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Make contact. You don't want to be striking out. They have to work on the strikeouts. Bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rafael has improved a little bit. At least he's above the Mendoza line finally. I mean, that's huge in itself. I think the patience factor is starting to get, and he's starting to figure it out a little bit. He's like 213 or something like that now, and for he was in the 160s to 180s for a long time. So, but yeah, I mean, they're just gonna say, look, I got to do my job. My job is to get the runner in or runner over, whether it be a fly ball or a ground ball to the other side, whatever. Put the ball in the air, put the ball in play. Good things happen.
I will. Sorry, George, to cut you off.
Yeah, no worries.
I will say, just to kind of piggyback off what you're saying about Ceddanne. I brought this up on Pod by the River yesterday. I will say that, not comparing numbers, but as far as comparing the I guess you could say immaturity at the plate at a major league level. Mm-hmm. We were saying the same things about Devers when he first came up. Now, I'm not saying that Ceddanne is going to be Devers. I'm not saying that at all. But I feel like, you see the guy become, he wants to be a star. He got the extension. You can't expect too much. These things take time. Look at what Devers blossomed into, and I think it'll do everyone justice to kind of wait and see what Ceddanne will kind of blossom into as well.
When I got a chance to watch him in Portland, when he gets into a funk, he's tough. Yeah. He's really tough on himself. Okay, he really beats himself up. So nobody has to do that for him, and and he does find it. It's like he finds it. It's like all of a sudden the sky's open, and he starts driving the ball and do good things. It's just that he's had to. This is the second position he's had to start, and kind of get used to doing that. I think he's still finding his way.
Yeah.
But no, you can see, you're right. Incrementally, you can see what's there, particularly in the hitting tool.
For sure.
And yeah, you're right. He is immature at the plate, but you knew that coming up. Exactly. But you were willing to put him in the outfield for the defense he gave you. Now the bonus is that he's got, he's taking Story's place at shortstop and doing a pretty good job at it. Is that? So you can. If I have a light hitting shortstop, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't throw the ball, as long as he doesn't throw the ball into the 42nd row of, behind first base, I'm good with it.
We have David Hamilton for that.
We have David Hamilton, and we have the memories of Kike last year. So
yeah, exactly. Good point.
So, man. Let's move on to the Tampa series. We're already down 3-0.
Yeah, thanks, Ritt.
Yeah. Hey, no problem, George. I got you right here. So, but on paper, we've got all cylinders going. Cutter Crawford tonight. Pavetta's going tomorrow. and it's one of those 4-game series that I really are on a. I'm not as fond of a 4-game series or dislike them as much as a 2-game series, but still it kind of drags it out for absolutely no reason. Then we got Houck going out on Wednesday, and then Cooper Criswell out on Thursday. So, guys, what are you thinking about the Tampa series? And will we find the groove? And so far, tonight's game, we have not found it yet. George?
I really want it to be 2-2 for the series. I really do. But somehow the Rays they know how to pull the rug out from underneath the Red Sox over the last couple of seasons. And I can very easily see it be, the Sox winning 1 of the 4 games. It's sad, but it's like they can't do anything right against Tampa. They have their number, for all the wrong reasons. And it'll probably be Criswell that gets the only victory, which would be kind of poetic justice in a way. But yeah, I'm all for a 2-2 series because you get 2 teams roughly, in terms of their record wise, about the same. But what the question is, we still don't know what kind of team Tampa is going to be this year. They've had their issues as well. They're not, they're a game under 500 coming into the series, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but we're actually a game and a half ahead of them. So if we could pull off a 2-2 tie, we'd still stay ahead of them in the standings. Justin, well, what about you? With Tampa, like George said, you never really know what Tampa you're going to get. Somehow, they do have a lot. There's a lot of new faces over there on Tampa. If I'm looking at their roster right now, their pitching staff is pretty much almost all revamped, since they traded Glasnow. So, what are you thinking there?
This would be the series to make the Tampa Bay Rays, good again. I mean,
yeah.
Who else would it be other than the Red Sox to awaken the Tampa Bay Rays, and they just go on an insane run with whatever janitors they're playing out there on a daily basis. But also, side note, for this to be the second series, AL East series of the season, and it's already almost mid-May, is weird to me. I would say this, you don't want to say must win in May. It's really not must win, but this is an important series. You get to see, a divisional rival that's not the Orioles, keep your head above water in third place. And the Blue Jays could awaken at any time too. You can't forget about them either. On paper, I think they have a better team than the Red Sox or the Rays. And, like talent wise, they could take over and start going a little winning streak. So you have to keep them in check too. We know this. We've been down this road before. The AL East is a dogfight on a day in and day out basis. The offense is going to have to step up in a big, big way. This is going to be a defining series for them, for sure.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, Toronto's young core, this is a make or break year for them. And, they were counting on guys like Turner to come in and kind of like show them how it's done. But yeah, I mean, they could go off. I mean, they certainly have the talent to do it. And, AL East, it's everybody survives. And I just see that Tyler O'Neill just hit a home run. So
yeah. Talk about timely hitting, huh?
That's timely hitting. I guess I broke a slump for a while. Okay.
Yeah, there you go, Georgie.
Yeah. I got a lot to do with that. No.
I was going to say, George, do I have to pull a little clip and start calling you, not only the totally nasty, but start calling George the slump buster?
Yeah, George is a stopper.
Oh, good. Another nickname, just what I need. Oh, God.
But no, overall, like, my biggest worry is, it's against Tampa.
Yeah.
They have on their Yandy Diaz, who always destroys us, and Brandon Lau. Those two, for some reason, like if I were to do DraftKings or any of those, Tampa's playing Red Sox at Fenway. Brandon Lau is guaranteed to sit there and go off. He does every year. Yandy Diaz is the same thing, every year against us. And my biggest question to you guys is, how long can our starting pitching keep us in games? Like we're in May now. Okay, we're still doing well. If we can get to June and our starting pitching is still, then I'm going to be 100% believer. You know what I mean? Justin, let's start with you. With how long you think our starting pitching can keep us into these games.
I mean, health is a big question. For me, I think health is the only question here. If they can stay healthy, they run the Andrew Bailey, program, and they just keep doing what's worked for them, then it could take them to September. It could take them to October. I mean, not in a playoff sense, who knows in that sense, but it could take them to the end of the season. It could go as long as it wants to. But if they can't stay healthy, then that's going to be a big issue. We've already seen, this rotation take a massive hit. Who's to say that they don't take a hit again? I hope they don't, but who's to say that it doesn't happen by July? Who's to say it doesn't happen by August? If they can stay healthy, I think the sky's the limit for them, honestly.
Yeah. Me personally, I sit there and think, if I like what AC's thinking, in case, like you said, Justin, the injury, like someone next man up. Okay, we're gonna stretch out Winkowski in case we have Chris Well, we've got Whitlock, we've got even down in AAA our man. If the dick fits, wear it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But there's options down there where if it was like last year or the year before when we were sitting there talking about, I was so tired of all these reporters talking about our pitching depth. Yeah. Where was it? Now this year they're not talking about our starting pitching depth, and we actually have it. So it's like, I swear the reporters just want to, do something just to, make stuff up half the time. But George, what are you thinking on, where our starting pitching can take us?
I don't know how many rabbits we can pull out of the hat anymore. I mean, Andrew
George,
Bailey.
It's 3-3.
Yeah.
You tied it up.
Yep.
Oh, wait. Was that off the Tyler O'Neill home run?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, he actually. See, you say Tyler O'Neill home run, automatically, George. I'm thinking it's a solo shot.
No, he drove in Abreu and Jeff was with him. No, I mean, look. I said, how many rabbits can they pull out of a hat? I mean, this is Andrew Bailey, okay? And he's got that staff believing, no problem, dude, we got it, okay? No matter who it is. You figure you just got 2 of the 3 starting pitchers are coming back off the IL, okay? Mm-hmm. In Pivetta, who just pitched the other night, and Bayer, who pitched yesterday, right? Now you're waiting on Whitlock. You tell me another team that does as well as this team did in retrospect, and tell me that something's not going your way, because it is. He's got these guys believing in it. The other thing is that the difference, I think, in the bullpen this year is that I think they finally have a rotation in the bullpen that is starting to work. All right.
They finally got Joely Rodriguez out of there.
Yeah, well, there you go. He can't be far enough away from Fenway. Seriously, if he could send him to the moon, I would have. God, every time I see him, I'd be like, no, good, no. And everybody is feeling comfortable in what they do. And, the story of the year is still Slayton. I mean, here we are, 40 games into the season, and this kid is just he's brushes off a bad outing every time. That's closer mentality, I think, eventually. But for right now, he's found money. Everybody's slotted in. Bernardino's doing his thing. Kenley's finally, when he pitched 3 days in a row. I mean,
Yeah.
He probably went home and slept until noontime today. Everybody's starting to get it and gel as a unit, and it's like, okay, my turn. And if you've got that on the back end, and you got a starter who's coming off a rehab going 5, and you throw 4 guys out there for an inning and get the job done, beautiful. And I think that's it. And I think Bailey's got command of the staff, and that might save the staff from Cora, who's a bullpen burner. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Justin, George and I are on the same thing. I love AC, but keep him away from the bullpen. He will blow through the bullpen when he doesn't need to. Like it's horrible for me to say that, but he doesn't know how to manage a bullpen whatsoever. That is why. Oh man, he's for the Dodgers right now.
Dave Roberts?
No. The relief pitcher.
Oh,
it was
Brazier?
Brazier.
Yeah, Brazier. Yeah. Like he was so horrible here, and then all of a sudden, it's night and day. Like you're not wearing out his arm, so he actually has recovery time.
Yeah.
Out there in LA, and he did fantastic for him last season. So, but
I will say I would me personally I would attribute the Brazier situation to the pitching coach of last year as opposed to I guess a workload thing. I haven't compared innings pitched between when he was on the Dodgers and when he was on the Red Sox, but I don't know why Ryan Brazier is up there for one of my most or my least favorite Red Sox players of all time. But now I'm starting to kind of realize that maybe he could have been, he could have found remnants of his 2018 self on this pitching staff. Maybe, I mean, we'll never know. But I'm starting to kind of realize that maybe, and I will say there are a lot of players out there that are kind of realizing, what we have going. Well, I say we, but what the Red Sox have going on, pitching wise. There are a lot of players and a lot of people around the league that are taking notice about that. So,
yeah, and I think in the off season coming up, that's going to play big,
huge,
because they're going to look at it and go, "Ooh, this guy can help me, and I can help you, and this could be a destination for pitchers instead of." A starting pitcher, coming to Boston, they go, yeah, no, have a nice day.
Exactly.
So,
well, Justin, just to throw out some numbers at you, in 2022, Brazier pitched for the Red Sox 62.1 innings, 62 and a third.
Wow.
2023, 59 and 2/3. 2023, before he got traded, he was at 21 innings, and
okay.
He was at a 4.35 ERA. When he went out to LA, he finished the season with 38 pitched for them, 38 and 2/3 innings with a 2.48 ERA.
Yeah. So it could be a workload thing for sure. It could be a usage thing. It could be, there could be a whole myriad of things that it could be. Yeah. Comparing the innings pitched, if it's not a workload thing, you kind of eliminate that right away. But who knows? But
he's certainly getting beat up. Sometimes change of scenery.
Yeah.
Guys just need to move on.
Yeah, it helps out a lot of players out there. So yeah, absolutely.
So well, Justin, it's time for us to sit there and move to our one of our favorite segments, and George, we're gonna sit there and play it.
Fair or foul.
Fair or foul. So, Justin, we're going to sit there and name a topic, And if you agree with it, fair. If you don't agree with it, foul, and explain why. So, first question. Wilyer Abreu will not be a top 5 Rookie of the Year candidate. So, George?
I think foul. I think he'll probably come in 4th or 5th in the voting. I think people are going to see he's a pretty solid player. Yeah.
Justin?
I will say foul as well. He leads a lot of rookies right now in the AL in a bunch of categories. I haven't looked it up in the last day or two, but he's on pace to be like a 4-win player. The only thing that makes me kind of hesitate on that is if Cora keeps over managing and is sitting him against lefties, that'll eat into his votes. He shouldn't be doing that. I mean, he's the one that said, this is a guy that needs consistent playing time and consistent at bats. Now all of a sudden you're sitting him against lefties. I think it's to be seen, but I think overall, I think logic prevails, and he just becomes an everyday player. And I do think he becomes a finalist, actually.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, like, I don't understand Cora's logic, because even last year, if he didn't set Tristan Casas against lefties as much as he did, well, we could have been looking at Casas getting Rookie of the Year last year, in 100%. My opinion. So I'm going to sit there and agree with you guys. Foul. I think he will be, because I think he's in the top 5 now. And looking at the rookies for the AL this year, and I think he's in 5th now. So next question. This one's going to be a tough one, because you got to bear injuries and everything. The Red Sox will have over 4 All-Stars selected. Over 4. George?
Foul.
Foul?
Nope, I don't see it. I think that Rafael Devers, maybe Cutter Crawford, and if you get really lucky, a 3rd, but I don't see anybody else.
Okay. Justin?
I'm also going to go foul, only for the reasons that, like you said, health. Casas isn't here. He probably would have been an all-star, just kind of projecting. The players that are playing really well for us aren't big name players. No one's going to really give votes to Willie or Abreu except for Red Sox fans. No one's going to give votes to guys like Justin Slayton except for Red Sox fans. I can definitely see Devers being an all-star. I can definitely see Kenley Jansen being an all-star. Maybe Houck. But other than that, I mean, it's a stretch to say anybody else, really. Maybe Connor Wong if he keeps, like an A50 900 OPS. But the catching position isn't shallow. He has Rutschman in his way. He's a bunch of great catches in his way. So, when it all comes down to it, I think 4 is a stretch. I think they'll be lucky if they get 3. I think they end up with 2.
What you saying about Jansen, right now, he has Holmes to compete against over there at the Yankees, and he's killing it. He has 12 saves already, for the Yankees. But I will go optimistic. I am going to go fair. I'm saying that Cutter Crawford, I'm going to go on record. George, you ready for this?
You got to remember to clip this one, okay? Hey, Justin, we go through this all the time, okay? He'll say something, and I'm like, okay, somebody clip this because we're going to play it back.
Well, you have a witness. I'll remember.
Okay, there you go.
Hey, I'm about a 60-40% chance right.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
So, Cutter Crawford will be the AL starting pitcher.
All right.
For the American League. That's who I'm throwing out there. Yes,
49
George,
minutes.
49
minutes and 28 seconds. Okay, we got you.
So, Cutter Crawford. I think Houck gets in.
Okay.
I think Connor Wong. And I don't think Devers gets in.
Really?
If he didn't get in last year, what's the point of him trying to get in this year?
I want to say he was close last year in votes. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think he was like right there, I want to say.
For me personally, the fans voting, I hate it.
Me too.
Because we have the Toronto Blue Jays who don't have just a city or a state voting for him. They have a whole country voting for their whole team in.
Yep.
And it's absolutely ridiculous. But I think Jarren Duran will make his first All-Star appearance.
Okay.
So those are my 4. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Cooper Criswell is going to start the All-Star game, honestly, me personally. But Cutter works too, man. Or no, you said Houck. Houck works.
No. I said Cutter.
You said Cutter. Okay.
Cutter's definitely.
Cutter's my boy. Last year,
he's just binky, man. It's tough.
Last year, I predicted Cutter Crawford. This is when he was the number 5, was going to be the leading Red Sox pitcher in wins. And DC and George kind of chuckled a little bit, and he was 2 wins off. No one thought Cutter Crawford was going to do. And I think this year he's going to get that 170, 175 innings pitch that we need him to advance to. So, next up, the Red Sox will not have a top 3 Cy Young pitcher at the end of the season for votes. Will not have a top 3 Cy Young pitcher in votes. George?
This one's tough. I'm going to go foul. I think based on today, Houck and your boy Crawford could be. They seem to be, they're coming out like guns of fire. If you'd asked me in the beginning of the season, I would have bet on Pivetta. But, I think foul. These guys are they're so focused right now, and they bought into the Bailey program. So I think one of them is going to do it.
Justin?
I'll also say foul only because it's let's be honest, it's early. But as of right now, I don't see any reason why Houck or Cutter couldn't get votes. Enough votes to be at least in the top 3. If I had to lean on someone, I'd probably lean on Houck to be the guy that would end up getting the most votes on the team. Maybe that gets him into the top 3. If, like you said, George, if you asked me this, last during the wintertime, I'd be like, yeah, you're nuts. But now seeing how they've been, if they stay healthy, like I said, that goes back to what I was saying before. Sky's the limit. Yeah, I foul. I think at least one of them gets top 3 Cy Young votes for sure.
So I will also go foul, and I'm agreeing with you, Justin. I'm saying Houck. Houck is the man that will get the top 3. They maybe even top 2. Okay. Like if he can, the only thing, and you can't base your wins on, or a Cy Young on wins and losses, because sometimes it's just not his fault. It's not a pitcher's fault sometimes that you can't score, runs. Even when he went 9 strong, like they won 2-0. Like it's not that. So next up, we're going to go, and we even touched about this earlier. Cooper Criswell will stay in the rotation once Whitlock is back. George?
Fair. I think they almost have to.
Justin?
Yeah, going back to our convo before, definitely fair. Keeping it consistent, how, like you said, man, how can you take him out? Seeing how he's doing, let's let it ride out for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with both you guys, and it's his job to lose. Like, You can't sit there and pull him out now. And for what? Whitlock got injured. Was that his fault? No. But you got to ride the hot hand now until he's no longer hot. And then if Whitlock wants to, if he's doing great in the bullpen, then give him a shot back in there. So,
For sure.
And last but not least, this Red Sox team is better than last year's Red Sox team. George?
I'm going to go fair. And my reason for that is over the weekend I did some looking at the numbers because I was like, I thought the record shoe was a little bit better. Actually, it's been a little worse than they were at this point last year, roughly about a quarter of the way through the season, right? And last year at this time, they were 22-18, we're 21-19. This time last year, they were in the middle of a 4-game losing streak. Don't
tell us that now. We're playing Tampa for 4 games.
No, not Tampa. They got the Cardinals got them for 3, and the Mariners got them for 1. I think they're better in many ways. Their pitching is better. Okay, their bullpen is better. For all the things we've talked about tonight. Bailey's made the difference. I think the infusion of some additional young blood into the lineup has helped. They're struggling on offense, and I think that's the point where they're weakest, and we talked about that as well. So, but I do think they're better. They're more fun to watch, for sure. They're easier, and we're not, we don't every time hold our breath and go, oh shit, here goes Hike thrown into the stands again. We're not seeing that. Things have settled down on defense. We got a long way to go to, get up at least in the mid-20s in terms of defensive prowess. So, yeah. But yeah, I think they are a better team.
Justin,
I'm gonna say fair. I think they are a better team. It may not be by much, but they are better. The pitching is just like night and day compared to last year. This team, the only reason I'm going to say is this team is keeping their heads above water right now with the major injuries that they've sustained. If this Red Sox team went through the injuries that it sustained last year and they lost Casas, it would be a bottom 5 team in the AL, probably most likely in baseball. Just seeing how they're kind of fighting, it's a different team than last year. It is better. It may not be by a marginal amount, but it's definitely better for sure.
Yeah. When I was making that question, I was looking at it, and I was looking at our team now compared to our team last year in September, because we have almost the same. We've got Abreu up, Rafaela was up. They're on our team. Technically right now we don't have Trevor Story. We didn't have Trevor Story then either, Mm-hmm. So it's really neck and neck, except for we had Justin Turner last year, where this year, who do we have? But the pitching's what really, set me above the edge that yes, I'm going to go. We do have a better team this year than last year because of the pitching, because of the confidence that these guys have, amongst each other. Like they're helping each other pick each other up, and it's something different when you see these pitchers be pitching with Tanner Houck, Cutter Crawford, even Bayo and Pavetta. It's a totally different vibe this year than last year, but with almost the exact same team we have. So but we're almost done here. So Justin, we're gonna leave you sit there and any final thoughts. People want to meet and talk to you and argue with you on Twitter. Where to find you at?
Shots fired. Here we go.
Yeah, just always shots fired, man. Just find me on Twitter at JustinMLB. I'd love to just talk baseball with anybody, Red Sox fan or not. That's what we're here for. And just want to say thanks for having me on, guys. This was a lot of fun. Constructive conversation, and go Sox, man.
Yeah. Slump Buster George. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna learn to keep my mouth shut before I get another nickname. No, it's they're coming into some heavy time in the schedule for them, so this will prove out really the kind of team that they are. So, fingers crossed, and go Sox.
Yeah, like you said, this is probably the toughest stretch of the schedule all season. So if we can sit there and make it through this, we can make it through almost anything. Heck, we have, Tampa. Who else do we have in the schedule for this coming up? St. Louis is coming up.
Yeah.
Then Tampa again. Then we got the Brewers, who are hot. Baltimore. And then we got 4 games against Detroit. So it's
and then Atlanta back for 2. So that's no fun.
And then I can't wait for June 5th when we have the lovely Tina back on our podcast to talk trash on the Chicago White Sox that she loves so much. So
it's not fun to be her this year. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's awful.
And she's such a she's a great fan and does a great job covering the team, but it's just like
it's dreadful.
Ugly, yeah.
Yeah.
And we thought the A's were going to be worse than that, but good Lord, the White Sox are laying a royal egg here.
Yeah, they are. Yep.
Yeah. So, well, guys, make sure you head on over to our YouTube page at BSEN617. You can find us over there covering all your Boston sports needs, from Dynasty Proud with the Celtics, Kings of Causeway for the Bruins, our newly acquired Puck Princess, who covers the Bruins, and also our Foxborough Fellows podcast that covers our New England Patriots. So make sure you head on over to our store, BSEN 617.square.site. Pick up a Hulkamania shirt that is officially authorized by Tanner Houck and Jonathan Papelbon, to where 20% of the merchandise goes to the Carita Family Foundation. So, but for the OG, for Justin, and for myself, check us out next time on the Pesky Podcast.